Hello.
Welcome back to Tina Chat.
With Harry and a Pat. Harry and a Pat.
Harry and a Pat.
A.K.A. Zara. Woohoo!
What? Harry and a Pat?
Yeah, it just came out. I didn't mean it.
Ah, like...
A pat. Harry and a pat on the head.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm joking. I don't know.
Okay. That's a new one. So I was told not to bring up the
Yeah,
old
don't
stuff,
bring it up.
but you've changed the
No,
new
I
thing.
haven't. You
or
brought
the
it up
OG
now.
thing. I haven't. It's
Moving
fine.
on.
Moving on. What have you got to drink?
Nothing. You took it away from me.
That makes it sound like I've taken a full drink. I took your empty cup away from you.
I was drinking a chai, but now it's gone, so Harry took it.
Sadness.
And I don't really want another one because I'll be peeing when we teach later. So.
Oh, fair enough. I have a pint of water because I won't be peeing.
Is your phone on or is that mine?
It's your phone.
Sorry.
Yeah, busy woman. Where is it? Can you not find it? Oh, there it is in your pocket.
Just joking. Anyway.
No, don't. I haven't finished talking about my water.
Yeah, okay,
It's
go ahead.
tap water, and it's in a Doom Bar glass because I'm a big Doom Bar fan. That's a new thing. Maybe we should do a Saturday night pod episode.
That's Christmas special.
Christmas special.
Mulled wine.
Oh yes, love mulled wine. You don't like mulled wine?
No, I'll have a Doom Bar.
You like? We both like Doom Bar actually, don't we? You know, for those of you listeners who would like to get us a little Christmas gift.
No one buys a Christmas gift, Harry.
But if you want to.
No, I don't want any Christmas gifts.
10-pack of Doom Bar. Let's round.
Anyway,
Zara's leading this podcast today because it's better.
Harry's in a chatty. He's going to run off with the wind mood. So I'm just going to, keep us on track.
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry if I keep yawning. I've gone really yawny.
You go, oh, and there we go. Yawning.
I must just be really tired today.
You've been working up far too hard. Too many podcasts.
Never.
Okay,
so today we are talking about the gap between the training.
The training.
I told you, I'm tired.
You sure you're going to be alright to leave this podcast?
I don't know.
The gap between... Let's go again. Take 2.
Gap between training and the industry.
Training in the industry.
So what we mean by that is, you've talked about this a bit more, about the little bubble you're in while you're training.
Oh, yes.
And then you get thrown out into the big bad world and you're like,
yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah, I think it can be like that, can't it? It's
I think, tell me if I'm wrong, but I do think you had that experience a bit more than me. I think...
I can only talk from my experience.
No, but you talk about that a lot, like
Do
in
I?
the sense of being in that college bubble. Whereas I don't necessarily feel like I had that. I feel like there were certain aspects of it that were sort of bubble-esque, and there's a safety in that. But at the same time, I think I fully knew what to expect from the industry, and we were already in it doing auditions and stuff before we graduate. I don't really feel like I was thrown into anything. I think I was actually quite well prepared.
It's probably something that varies from individual to individual, like in various other things, like we said before. I do feel like, for me, and I definitely, some of the people I've spoke to, and maybe this is just from an acting course perspective, I don't know, there was an element of the bubble burst, and all of a sudden you've been going from, training 5 days a week, 40 plus hours, to nothing really. It is nothing, because as much as you're paying for a course in whatever way you might be paying for it, you're then like, it's more funds that are coming out of your back pocket,
Oh yeah.
That are then paying for anything further.
That's a good point, because that's definitely not something that was maybe highlighted enough. Is that you're doing all this training and then you move down to London, or you stay where you are and you're taking class, but then you're paying every time you're doing class.
Yeah.
So it's like, to go to 2 classes a week, it's like at least £20.
Yeah. It adds up quickly, and you want to keep your skills sharp. Of course you do. Who doesn't? It's like when you're cutting something with blunt knives, it's just not as efficient, is it? So you want to make sure everything's functioning as it should. And I think that, along, and maybe part of it for me was like I think I had done a couple of auditions before I graduated as well, but it's just maybe the switch up of environments for me, going, because I was living in Birmingham, then I would have gone and lived at home for a couple of months in the summer, then I went to move to London, and it was all just a bit like, whoa, all these different things are happening all at once. And I think there's elements of it that you are not prepared for, that you're not going to be prepared for by your college, if that makes sense. Like, your college isn't going to tell you, I mean, maybe they will, where you move to is what I was going to say. I think there's a lot of emphasis on London. Keeps coming up in quite a few things we talk about. It's not necessary to be there. You don't have to be there. But there's little things like that, like a lot of changes, a lot of things happen very quickly. Maybe that's my way of processing it. It's like all of a sudden I've had all these friends that I've been training with. I've been training so regularly, like I've said, and now I'm living here and I've got to try and find a job, and I'm getting auditions through every so often, and like this world is totally just
flipped.
It's the rug's been pulled out from under your feet almost, and it's like, wow, now I'm doing this, which is kind of partly what I knew was going to happen, but also I feel like in no way I was expecting any of this.
Yeah.
Because I guess as well is the nature of the industry, you don't know what's going to happen. You could have your first job lined up before you even graduate. I'm sure you know people, we both know people who have actually missed graduation because they've gone off to do jobs. So it's
everyone's different, everyone's experience is different.
Exactly. And that, there's people who may do that and have that job and then they may not work for like 3 years, and it's like that must be a whole new thing,
Yeah. Well, I guess that sort of leads us into a good point, and something I'll ask you more from an acting perspective, what you think. But what was the biggest difference for you between training and then being in the real world? What was the biggest, like?
I think for me, I quite enjoyed my training, and particularly into my third year, some of the classes people kind of would fade out of coming to, because they were kind of like, well, you come into the end of the third year, you can, some of these classes, if you want to stop, you can. I was kind of like, well, however much of this student loan I end up paying back, like, I want to get the most out of it, so I'm going to go to absolutely everything. So maybe it felt a bit more drastic that all these classes that I enjoyed doing had just gone, and maybe the social element of that changed as well, like the social element in between classes and after classes, before classes, whatever. I think maybe I felt that because all of a sudden you're working with like a little group of your cohort, aren't you? And it just disperses into the world, and the familiarity you have within the people you're around isn't there anymore.
I think this is where everyone's sort of experience will differ, because some people maybe can't wait to leave that little cohort.
Maybe absolutely. There's definitely was people like that within, even like individuals. I could see that within my cohort, that some people were like, "Cool, yeah, bye."
Yeah.
I'm never going to speak to you again.
Which is fine.
Yeah, of course it is. But I don't know. I just felt like we've all been on this crazy journey together, and now it's just ended. And I don't know, it was just, even now you can hear it in the way I'm talking, it's just that I've not really processed this 3 years of life, and it's like there's so much that's happened and so much that has happened before and since, and I don't know, it's like I didn't feel that there was a transitional period. It was like, okay, your train's coming up to the platform now, but we ain't stopping at this station, so get ready to jump. I don't know, it's I'm finding out a word, apparently.
That's okay, I mean, you've said
well, what about you?
I didn't want to jump in if you weren't doing speaking, but I don't know, I feel like maybe the biggest change for me was just that when you're training, there's a sense of security there. You know you're going to get up and you're going to have ballet at 8 a.m. You know who's going to be in your class. You know who's going to stand at which position on the bar. You know who's, you know, you're going to spend lunch with that day and what to expect from the teachers. And it's like everything's very secure, especially by the time you're graduating, having been there for 3 years. You know that you're going to do certain productions. You sort of know, rightly or wrongly, what the sort of hierarchy is amongst you all. That's the wrong word to say, but like just sort of the dynamic of where you all fit, and that's all very like, there's a security in that I feel like every human sort of looks for. And I think even though I feel really prepared by my training on what was going to happen, like how it's going to feel to be in London, like, because obviously when I was training I lived at home the whole time, like I had that, and then I moved out, so that was obviously a huge change to be in a house with 5 strangers and like
I'll bet
whatever, like down the other end of the country from my family, like it's that was obviously a change in itself, but I didn't feel unprepared for that. I didn't really, at the time, I don't think I felt this massive like change, other than the fact that there was a lot more uncertainty. It was a lot more, I could go to this audition and get a job, but I could also go and get cut first round, so I need to go get another job to pay my bills, because I'm now living in London and having to pay these bills, which I hadn't done before because I lived at home. But then I have to find a job that works around these auditions, and then also once I have that job, if I get a like performing job 2 weeks later, I need to be able to leave that job without it being a big deal. Like, I think it was navigating the actual logistics of the uncertainty, whereas before we just got up for ballet every morning and that was just it, and it was a routine and it was fine.
I think you put that really well.
So that was the biggest change for me, and I think maybe in that the hardest bit was keeping my brain like in a positive, no, it's going to be okay place, like go get a job, take things as they come, like go with the flow, rather than this like sort of searching for this like the same sort of security I had when I was training. I
think you put that really well, because when you say that, especially that kind of between the structure and like, okay, now you're creating the structure.
Yeah, you do it yourself.
Makes I think that's, when you say that, that's like, I feel like, yeah, that's probably what I was trying to search for. As always. But that makes me think of spinning plates. It's like, someone's like, okay, you're going to do this now, spin that plate, and then you're going to do this tomorrow, spin that plate, and then you're going to do this tomorrow, spin that plate. Okay, off you go. And it's like, oh, right, oh, now I'm spinning those plates.
Yeah.
But actually, I don't.
They've sort of like told you that you need to spin them, but it's the first time you've done it yourself, so you're like... Yeah, that makes sense.
You're so engrossed in the training itself. It's almost, I guess, the life part of it, maybe, as well. Because when you said about you moving, of course, and living at home, like, yes, I had the benefit of moving to London with people I'd already known and lived with.
Oh, I moved with people I never knew.
Yeah, so it's actually interesting from those perspectives, individually as well, because whatever the journey for whoever it is, there'll be factors, won't they? Yeah. Because you could move and live, like I could have done a similar thing, like as you, but moved from not living with my family, or you could have moved down with people you know, and like
everything
changes. It's so flexible, and like you say, everything changes. It then will go on to change beyond that, and beyond that.
I think that is actually an interesting and like good piece of advice, though, for anyone who is about to graduate, and whether you are going to stay at home, whether you're moving to the northeast, to the south, to the west, to wherever you're going,
wherever you want to be.
Find a new routine and a new normal for you amongst the uncertainty, because in the industry there's always going to be an element of, you're going to have to get a self-tape in by tomorrow. You're going to need to, you've got an audition at the end of the week that you haven't planned for, but you're going to have to go, or you've got booked a job and you have to be in Egypt for 6 months. Like there's always going to be that element of the industry. It's just how it is at the minute. But I think finding your own like routine and pattern in that. So if you know that you've got a ballet class you can get to on a Wednesday morning and you like that ballet class, go. That's a non-negotiable. You go to that ballet class every Wednesday morning because that is your routine. And maybe you've got an acting workshop on a Friday. Well, you go to that acting workshop. And okay, you look at the logistics of, can I afford another class? No. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an at-home workout every Monday and Tuesday. That's my routine. And then I'm going to get coffee with my friend. I'm going to get coffee with my friend on a Friday as well. And that you work around that. And then, okay, so logistically I need a job. So I'm going to get this job like how we did working in the theatre. That was in the evening, so we had our days free. Okay, so I'm going to look at jobs that are in evenings. Okay, that works. And working out a routine that works right for you. So when the other bits of you, it's almost like you're building this wall, and then when these other bits of like random bits come in that can be a bit overwhelming and stressful, your wall's secure. You know what you're doing, and you can fit these other bits in and around to make it work for you in your routine.
Yeah, it's like the foundation, isn't it, of everything. I think the more you talk about it, the more I kind of think maybe the biggest part of the gap between training and the industry, if there is, if you feel there is one, is that you've gone from you're told about and know you're going into something that is, quotation marks, unstructured.
Yeah.
But you're going from a structured environment. And if you think about generally your life, you will, through the school, if you've gone through a school system, it's all structured, structured, everything's structure. Our society is structured on a basic 9 to 5.
Yeah.
There's so much structure, and then I'm sure there's many other occupations which are unstructured, but then you've gone through this majority of your life following routine and pattern, which is great, and then all of a sudden it's like, cool, 3 auditions this week.
Yeah.
3 weeks down the line, nothing's happening. And the next day, cool, you've got a self-tape during tomorrow. And I think that is the gap.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's actually quite a hard thing to bridge from a teaching perspective, I think. Because how can you teach people? I mean, you're not going to go wake them up at 6 a.m, but okay, guys, yeah. You know what I mean? It's not boot camp. But
I actually think it's interesting because, I mean, it's hard to say because neither of us had a typical university experience,
true.
I say typical in the sense of
in the modern day typical.
Well, it depending on what course you're going to be, it's going to be different. Like in my eyes, someone doing a doctorate course is going to be different to like an event planning course. Like the structure and routine of those are going to be different.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what either of those look like to comment. I don't know, but in my eyes, how I've seen my friends have gone off to university and whatever, is they have an extra element of freedom from high school or from school. So like you've moved into dorms maybe, or even if you're living at home, you've got a bit more flexibility where you can miss lectures and catch up on them. You can you have a structure of the work that needs to be done, but from my understanding you can do that in whichever way is best for you and whichever way you learn. Again, if you've gone to university and that's wrong, you can tell us, but that is my understanding of it. So maybe, and then usually people who have gone to university and then go into jobs have then a structured job, sort of like you either work 9 to 5 or you most of the time, again that's very general, not everyone's like that.
You sort of know where you're heading, you know the direction you're going into, you know sort of what company or business that you're working towards, whereas it's just totally up in the air in some regard. What
I was going to say was, for me, I don't know what your acting course was like, but I went from already like school being very structured anyway, you've got your lessons and whatever, like that's what it is, to if not an even more structured, longer day every day at college. You had all your set classes and they were non-negotiable. You went to those classes unless you want to be killed. Like it's that's just what it was, and there was someone there to be like, get up out of bed, like you've got this class, you've got to like and then suddenly to go into the complete opposite of that, of like no one's going to be there to make you get up for ballet if you don't want to. No one's going to make you go to that audition, you have to do it yourself. No one's going to make you go make new friends. you know, in a world where you don't know anyone, or get your job that's going to pay your bills, or make that leap to go live where you want to live. Like, you are not on your own, but quote unquote on your own in that sense. That's how it feels. You've got to suddenly motivate yourself to do all these things without any other external factors. And on top of that, motivate yourself in a world where it's like, oh my god, this is intense. You know?
It is like, intense.
Yeah.
No, I think, you're spot on there.
I thank you. I guess another question I asked you, which might just go into what we're chatting about, but what do you wish you'd known before you graduated now? Like, if you could go back and tell 18, 19-year-old Harry, 20-year-old Harry, I don't know how old you were when you graduated, 21?
21.
21?
21, I think. Yeah. Something like that. 21, 22.
47.
I was 47 years old. No. What's the question?
What do you wish you'd known then?
What do I wish
What would you tell yourself?
Do you
want me to go first while you think about it, or do you know?
No, I think I would have told myself to just go for it, like be brave, but be resilient as well. Because I think that particularly moving to London, the first month or so, I found it really hard being in a position of like, I think I'd just done a commercial, so I was waiting for like a buyout to come in. So I knew I had money coming in, but I didn't have any at the time.
Yeah.
And I was really struggling to like get a job. I felt like I was applying to multiple jobs every day. And when you're doing that and you're not getting anything back,
it's hard.
It's really hard, especially when you feel like you're waiting for some money to come in.
Yeah.
And you know it was very difficult, and you just need to be resilient, and I think trust the process. Like everything came at the right time, and then the next thing you know, I was working multiple jobs that were not necessarily performance based, but working two jobs, and then the money came in. It all happened just as it was kind of like, I'm going to pull my hair out here. I don't know if that would actually make it better for me, what I just said. But I think to prepare yourself to just be like, okay, things are not going to go as you would perhaps expect them to, and you might need to,
but it's okay.
Throw a few curveballs or whatever. Yeah, it will be okay.
Yeah.
I think particularly if you've got a support system of some sort, that would be beneficial, because had that not played out how it did, I would have been in a bit of a different scenario,
Yeah. I think it's interesting as well, just hearing you talk about that, because we're talking about like the gap in terms of like your training and your career as a performer, but you've got to give yourself a bit of a break for everything else that goes into that. Like you're suddenly going to be around different people and different energies. You're going to be in a different situation, whether that be financially or like, this is such a silly thing, but it's something to consider. Like, have you been dating someone? Are you still dating them? Are you no longer dating them? Have you started dating someone else? Which is, I know, not necessarily relevant to training, but it affects everything going on if that's a part of your life.
Well, absolutely. Like it's going to affect, for example, like you say, if you've been in a relationship with someone you've been training with, and what if, are you going to then move to a new city with that person?
Yeah.
Is that person staying where they are? Are you going to move on your own? Is that person decided, actually, I don't want to be a performer anymore.
Yeah.
I want to move back home with my family. And that's going to affect what you choose to do, potentially.
Yeah.
And that's obviously not necessarily related to you as a performer, but it will have such a big impact, potentially. Maybe really an emotional period for you,
I think maybe the reason I said that is because if I was to answer this question and go back and say something to myself then, I would be like, just chill a second. Just take a big deep breath, Things are changing, things are happening at a rapid speed, and recognise more what a big deal that is, and like how well you're doing, and rather than worrying about what isn't quite there yet or what isn't happening, or trying to piece together a future that you don't know what's going to be. Like, I was always so worried about everyone else's opinion, and if I hadn't got a job in a certain amount of time, what was it going to be like? Like, every class I went into, I was thinking, oh my god, everyone thinks I'm rubbish, when no one actually cares. They're all looking at themselves, like that kind of thing. I just wish I told myself to be like, chill, there's no rush for anything, you're not working on anyone else's time scale, like, you've just moved down to London for the first time. Experience that, live that a bit, be free, stop putting so much pressure on yourself, look after yourself, you know, and everything else will fall into place how it's meant to be.
I feel maybe the when you say that's another part of it. I've talked about the school system before, and one of the things I remember talking about, when you have prospective job interviews, did you ever do that kind of thing in classes towards maybe secondary school towards the end?
What, go for job interviews?
Not go for job interviews, but they occasionally would do. I remember doing a few classes where they might prepare you, like, these are the kind of questions that might be asked. Maybe they did it in preparation to do things with UCAS as well, like, what's your 5-year plan? You know, those kind of classic job interview questions.
Personal development.
Yeah. It makes me think that if that's a part of your education that you've had, that's obviously clearly for me now still something that I remember, then you've gone off, you've done your training, whatever, and now you're in the real world. It's quite hard to, I think, yes, as a performer you might have something that you aspire to do, but the plan of getting there isn't necessarily, a straight road.
Yeah.
And that road could go up, down, through hills, underground, whatever. Do you know what I mean?
And the destination can change all the time as well.
And there's definitely forks in the road.
Yeah.
Multiple forks in the road. And it's like all these... Because you've sort of... Like I say, I'm still aware of having that class, whatever it was, done at school and like 5-year plan. And I wouldn't... How do you approach that kind of... Do you know what I mean? If that's somewhere in the back of your mind and you're kind of thinking, I need to try and direct this, but I don't know which direction I'm meant to turn in, it's quite hard to kind of slow it all down and be like, whoa, definitely. Hang on a minute. Because you're kind of somewhat educated to be like, I need to know what I'm doing and I don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Which is actually okay.
That's the thing, you're never going to build, as much as you might want to, you're never going to be able to force something to happen or whatever. The only thing you can control at any moment is yourself in that moment and what you do. So things like going to class, setting up a routine, taking evenings off to hang out with your friends or sit in your room and watch Dance Moms and eat biscuits. No, maybe don't. You know what I mean?
Once you got friends, do that. Once you got some friends.
But whatever...
More friends, that is. Hopefully you got some already.
Whatever it is that, helps you to be your healthiest, happiest you is going to get you to where you want to be faster than it is being like, oh my god, I'm not there, I should be there. This is a process that all my friends have taken and this is how it's worked for them and it's not worked for me and now I'm a failure now, blah, blah, blah. And now you're spiraling and now it's like... that you just need to chill. You've got time. Everything will work out. And I kind of feel if I could go back and say that to just graduating Zara, I would have been like, piss off. You understand. I'm stressed.
You're in my head because I feel that as well. Like it's all right now sitting here talking about what could have happened. Now we could, yeah.
Hindsight's a fine thing,
isn't it? But yeah, I agree. I think Harry would have been the same. Like, yeah, slow down, but my money's about to run out, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for my rent.
Isn't this funny, Harry? Because we're not that we're in this situation now, but we've taken a complete life turn, and we've set up our own business together. We've moved to a new city. We don't know. We're literally graduating us. Just in a different situation. We've moved to a new city.
With more experience and wisdom, obviously.
We've changed our routines. We've left all our friends or families we've set up something new with a completely different sort of path. And even now we're like, oh, but it's not working how we thought it would work. And then all of a sudden something happens and it's like, we just need to chill out.
But it's a good point, actually. I think because... Actually, what we do as well is we're actually very good at checking in on that.
Yeah.
And being like, you know what, let's just trust it. And we definitely go through waves of that now, I feel like that, being a bit older, going through waves as being like, oh, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling whatever, I don't know, this is blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you're like, actually no, it's all right. Everything is okay, you know, making it work, on the right track, whatever. I guess maybe it's teaching yourself that, having the mental stamina and well-being to be able to do that is quite hard when it's unexpected.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when you're young as well. Like, go back to that pod a while ago when I talked about being a 2-year-old, 3-year-old adult.
Yeah.
You know, you got that on top of it as well.
It's that.
All these different layers.
Graduating at 20, you're just a newborn. You literally haven't even found your hands yet. You know,
yeah,
crazy. I think actually on that note, that's a good way to look at it as well. Is that because everything's changing and everything's new, and your sort of routine while you're training has changed, look at the positives in that, in the sense that everyone's now on an even playing field again. Like,
true.
I don't know how you feel, but I feel like, or I spoke about it a minute ago, there was a sort of certain like dynamic where there was like, you were streamed into certain groups based on your ability, you're put into different shows based on your what those people at that time saw as your ability, but that isn't necessarily true when you go into the industry. And what I like so much about there being such a vast and wide industry is that there's something out there for everyone, and there's a job out there for everyone, and there's people and a community out there for everyone, and you're suddenly on an even playing field where everyone can just go off and find what's right for them. You're not suddenly shoved in that box. And maybe, I mean, you can look at this from two perspectives. I'm going to say if you are a favourite at your current institution where you're training, I say quote unquote favourite, but like if you're someone who's booked front and centre of every number, like you've left with whatever, you're suddenly put into a world where there's like, everyone's a favourite, you know, everyone in their own way has their own thing, and it's like navigating that. And I think in both senses it's a really good thing. It's a really good opportunity for you to be like, yeah, I'm going to follow who I am now and blossom out of that, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a really good thing. It's almost like if you wanted it to be as well, it's an opportunity to, you know, reinvent yourself.
100%.
A bit like going to, you know, sometimes when people find that when they go to a university setting, that it's like, okay, now I'm going to try out this, and you experiment. It's a new chapter in which you can do that. I think we both would agree. We believe you can do that whenever you want. You're not,
Definitely.
You're not restricted to having to move to a new place or have a big new experience. Or midlife crisis, whatever it may be. You can do whatever you want.
Quarter life. Thank you very much.
All right. Yeah. I wasn't saying you were having one.
I'm joking. But yeah, it's funny. Anything else to say on that point, Harry?
No. I'm scared to, actually.
I'm just kidding with you.
No.
Anyway, our last point here, which is actually a good one to talk about as well, and the sort of gap between training and the industry, is your relationship with people such as agents, casting directors. I don't know about you. Again, I come from very much a competitive dance sort of environment where when you were training, the teachers were your teachers, and they were somewhat on a pedestal a bit, where
they're above you.
Yeah.
No, same.
No, well, it appeared that way, and we did learn from them. They were there to teach us, and we learned everything we knew from them at that time. So I think what they said was gospel, and as a dance course, I feel like MT and acting were a bit different, because I remember them commenting on this while we were training. They used to call dance course wet sponges, and everyone else had a bit more personality, because we were a bit like, yes, you want it? Yeah. What do you want us to do? Yep, absolutely, we'll do that. Yep, yeah. Anything you want. Yep. You want us in that box? Okay, yep, fine. And we just sort of got trained in that way, like to fit other people's narratives and boxes, and like whatever they were looking for, we were taught to fit into that, which is a good skill to have sometimes. But I think
it's all in the
that
bag.
Yeah, but I think that doesn't necessarily translate when you move into the real world, quote unquote real world, and you
stop training.
You stop training and you get an agent and whatever. You sort of have to develop a sense of self and a sense of self-worth in who you are, enough to, when you're going for jobs or whatever it is, even just going into your agency meetings in the first place, to say, this is who I am, this is what I want, and this is a collaborative relationship. Like, we are on equal playing fields. I'm going to help you and you're going to help me. And, you know, that's quite a jump, I think, to go from an institution where you're talked to then leaving and being like, now we're equals and we're, you know, even like, I know I won't have come out yet, I don't think, but with Catherine, she talks about, I don't want to spoil it, but from a casting director's point, that they want you to go in and be really good because they need you as much as we need them, in a sense. And I think maybe getting your head around that after being, again, I'm talking about when I'm training, but it's very much like the teacher's word was gospel. They chose who did what show, who did what part in what show, what line you were going to be in, how you did, like everything was up to them. So it was very much a different relationship to how it would be if it was in the industry, because you have a bit more of a say, you have a bit more control over what you do and don't do.
I think you're right. I think what it makes me think of is, I agree with what you say, that you sort of, I've in particular viewed like, these are my teachers, these are the people with experience and knowledge and whatever, and
sorry, Harry's giving me a dirty look because I was playing with the papers.
What were you doing?
I was just closing the book.
Oh, is that what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, you were saying.
I was saying I was rudely interrupted.
Sorry.
I also view teachers or tutors, whatever, as like people with knowledge, wealth, and you appreciate that, and you're absorbing all that. And like you said, they kind of like, almost, even though we were adults, they were adults of another level. If that makes sense.
It is, in a sense, because they know more than you at that time. I've kind of feel myself like clenching inside, because I'm like, they're not more than you as a person.
No.
Like, as people on a human level, you're the same, but at that point they have more experience, more knowledge, more to give than you do in the industry, and then whatever your chosen craft is.
And I think part of, for me, a transition that was kind of, you then feel like, how do I address this, is that for me, it was firstly meeting agents. It's like, these are people who want to collaborate with me in like a business sense, and I feel almost like I don't really know how to sort of talk to them, because I'm so used to talking to tutors who I feel are the people that I need to sort of, so it's kind of like, all of a sudden I've got people talking to me like on the same level. This is all probably really politically incorrect way of describing it, but I think as long as you understand the point, it's like, all of a sudden I feel like I'm chatting to these people who how do I talk to you? You're an agent, you've got experience and things I don't know. I feel like you're up there, but actually you're talking to me as if you want me to collaborate with you and work with me, and I'm like, of course I want this, but it's like I'm sort of being like, in sort of eager yet hesitant way of do you know what I mean? It's just like you sort of have to work out how you're going to navigate that new, like, I'm in this now, I'm doing it, this is right. You've got to step into those shoes almost.
Exactly. And I think that's why it's so important, going back to what we said before, just to take a minute and be like, take a breath, be like, this is who I am, this is what I want to do, I'm in this new world, I'm gonna experience it all for what it is. And like, we're not saying you have to go into your first agent meeting and have the perfect agent meeting and be this big business person who knows how to navigate these things. You learn as you do it, and I think just give yourself that space and freedom to do that without the pressure, but it's important to acknowledge sort of that change, I guess, and go into it like sort of knowing that you're not in the same position you were. You've graduated, you're navigating a new world and a new sort of environment, and again, work out what those sort of business relationships are going to be to you, because to some people, going into an agent meeting, they can be quite comfortable saying, I want to do X, Y, Z, I don't want to do anything else, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe you can go in and say, actually, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I know I want to do this, I want to do this, and maybe want to do this. What do you think about this? Do you know what I mean? Everyone's approach to those things are going to be different, and I think that's wonderful. I think that's...
Absolutely, that's what makes the world go around, isn't it? So I think that's really good. I think what it makes me feel, now we've actually had the conversation, is that I feel like just however you may be feeling in this transitional period, give yourself 5 minutes. You'll be able to find 5 minutes somewhere and just like have a little check-in with yourself, with what's going on, and being like, okay, here's where I am, here's what's happening. Right, it's like a little moment to just pause life, recenter yourself, and then go back into what you need to do, because you're capable of it, and everyone, has done it at some stage in some form. So to give yourself a moment of, okay, right, that's okay, and I think that will give you a better mental place to then attack with or move forward with, is maybe a better way of saying that. But
I agree.
Yeah, just trusting yourself and allowing yourself to pause for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's not very long. So
and I think a good way to wrap this podcast up as well is, don't be afraid to lean on others, rely on others.
Correct.
Take a break. Like, whatever you need to do, if you need a week off, if you need to reach out to your mum and dad and say, I'm having a really hard time, can you buy me a McDonald's? Or that's such a stupid but you know what I mean, whatever it looks like to you, whether it would be reaching out to someone like if you're worrying about something, about an audition, or about something's not working for you, reaching out to someone like Harry and I and being like, can you give me some advice on this, some clarity? I think everyone's just doing the exact same thing you are, with the same worries, the same, even if you think they're not, they are. Everyone is navigating this world, and when you think you've navigated one bit, you go on a fork in the road and you've got something else to navigate, and we're all working it out together. So
damn right.
I think lean on those around you, reach out to those who you can, and just keep being your awesome self.
Yeah, love that. What a good way to end this pod.
Thank you, goodbye. That's it.
No, thank you so much for listening. I think
as always.
Yeah, as always. This has been quite a good one. I've enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I like this one.
It's been fun. They're always fun, actually.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day.
What emoji shall we do this week?
Emoji?
Yeah, I'm going to start this every week where if they it's like a little secret language between us all. If you go over and comment an emoji on our social media, we'll know that you've listened. And it's like a duck. Okay, so is there even... Yeah, there is a duck emoji, isn't there?
I don't know, I've never used it, but I like to think there is.
Well, if there's a duck emoji, yeah, there is. Go and comment it, and then it'll be like a little secret language, because we know you've listened this far, and we will love you forever for it. But no one else will know what it means, and they'll be like, what are all these ducks for?
Yeah, this is... Yeah, I love ducks. So.
What, the duck?
Do we have to put this down as explicit content? All our pods have been so PG.
What, the duck is still pretty PG?
No, I know. Just teasing. Anyway, I hope you have a lovely rest of your Friday if you're listening on Friday, a lovely weekend if you're also listening on Friday, but just enjoy the rest of your day, whatever you're doing.
See you
next week.
Bye. You have been listening to Tina Chat with Quartz Academy.
If you have any questions or things you want to know, visit our website at www.quartzacademy.co.uk or email us info@quartzacademy.co.uk.
You can also find us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook and TikTok.
Thanks for listening.
We're so happy you're here. See you next week.
Bye.